Kill the coverage and then watch how quickly they forget the same issues people said that we cannot neglect.
Bam. Back in action. Pow, bam, zap. Just kidding. Welcome back. This is the Sexual Intellectual Podcast. It's been a long time since I was up here, and so much has been going on. I haven't even known when to pod. Every time I say to myself, I'm going to record tonight. I'm going to record in the morning. Some other stuff happens. So much has happened since the last time I podded. I don't even know where to start. But I guess I should start by introducing myself in case this is the first time you've been here. I am JD, aka He Who Pods, and this is the Sexual Intellectual Podcast. Man, this season on America has been so exciting. Excuse me, this season of America has been so exciting. Maybe good, maybe bad, but interesting is probably the tiniest word we could use to describe this season of America. I mean, wow. Since you've been gone, Biden stepped down from his campaign for presidency. He tapped out and he tapped in, boop, Kamala Harris. Before that, Donald Trump had a failed assassination attempt. There's no H in there. And it grazed his ear. Just a little, grazed his ear. There was all type of hoopla around that. And we're going to get to that in a minute. And what else has happened since then that's big? Kamala Harris has record-breaking numbers for how much money she has raised for her campaign in a tiny bit of time. And the new thing with Kamala Harris is that she will be choosing a vice president very soon, before the day that she has to. The rumor is August 7th. So she can go on her campaign tour immediately with her vice president. And man, things are really wild right now. This is like historical wild stuff. So let's start with the Trump shooting, the assassination attempt. Can't say that word today. So first, I guess I don't need specs for a little while. Let's leave these off until it's time. First, we have an assassination attempt. There's a lot of things that came out about the shooter, him trying to, he moved around, police went up there, all type of stuff happened. It was clearly a failure of Secret Service. And so Trump survived. It has rallied many of his supporters. And I'll be honest with you, I don't really share my opinion too much, but when the assassination attempt failed, I said to people I know, the script is written, Trump will be president, because this story is too crazy. In my mind, there was nothing that could happen that would dethrone Trump after he survived an assassination attempt. In my mind, up here, in my brain, in the noodle, as we used to say. In my brain, when it first happened, I said, oh yeah, ladies and gentlemen, your next president, again, let me do a Keith Leaf style. Again, Donald Trump. And we're going to pause right there. I'm not endorsing Donald Trump. I'm simply stating what I thought was going to happen at the time, like the same day it happened. Okay? Now let's fast forward and stay on Donald Trump and the assassination attempt. One of the things that happened, which was very important, was the person in charge of Secret Service has stepped down. And let me make sure I word this correctly, because I know they're going to be in the comments saying that I don't know what I'm talking about. And so I believe she's the director, Secret. Yes. Okay. Okay, yes. Here we go. Just want to make sure, I don't want to word things wrong because, when you do a podcast like this, when you're trying to report on things, you have to be accurate with your reporting. And sometimes the semantics matter more than others. And so, yes, the director of the Secret Service stepped down following the assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump that unleashed an outcry about how the agency tasked with protecting current and former presidents could fail in its core mission. And that is according to AP News. So the Secret Service director stepped down, but it looked like she was going to be fired if she didn't. It was crazy. And so now there's a new person there who's kind of an interim person. They're there just for now to see what happened. And they actually today, when I'm recording this, just stated that they're embarrassed about what happened. Little splash of water right there for y'all. Okay. So that is what's going on with that. And so Trump is okay, and he is back on the campaign trails. And now let's fast forward to Biden. Big old Biden. Biden, I spoke up here the last time. I said he was guilty of failing his party and his campaign when he did the presidential debate. Biden had a not good performance, and some say an abysmal performance at the presidential debate between him and Trump. And after that, many people, I don't want to use the term many, there were a number of Democrats calling for him to end his campaign and step down. And it seemed like he was resistant. There were even trending quotes from Biden himself saying, "I'm not going anywhere." But I always tell you, politicians are liars. And after meetings and resistance, Biden stepped down on a Sunday. And that was wild. So wild that it made history. This is a historic moment. And this is what happened on this season of America, y'all. Biden stepped down, and shortly after he said, I'm all for Kamala Harris. Y'all should go vote for Kamala Harris. He endorsed Kamala Harris, who's his vice president, and she quickly has become the favorite for the Democrats. Now, the Democratic National Convention, the DNC, has not happened yet, and so we don't know who their official nominee will be, but she already has more than enough Democratic people backing her. She has raised a ton of money in a very short time. There is an ad and an endorsement from the Obamas. And today they are trying to figure out who is going to be her vice president. There are some names being thrown in the air, but nothing as of the moment I'm recording this is set in stone. But it is quickly becoming a good old-fashioned slobber knocker, as they used to say in WWF before it was WWE, when I was a young lad. Because immediately Harris came out swinging, and she said things about Trump and the Trump campaign, and of course they responded. And so, folks, this is probably one of the wildest seasons of America that I have had the privilege of watching. I'm making jokes. This shit is crazy. And that's the whole point. That, we all watch TV shows and say, yo, this season of The Bear, yo, season 5 of The Wire, yo. And so that's my joke, that this season of America, it's just like historically crazy shit going on. And so those are the things going on in the political realm. There's a lot of other stuff going on too, which we'll get to in a minute. But those are the big stories that I had to address off the rip that happened since last time I was up here. So let's keep it moving now that we've addressed those things. Let's talk more about what's going on. So I just want to say RIP to Sonya Massey. And I just want to highlight how, I don't know how to really word this, but how tricky things can be when it comes to law enforcement. You see now that this person who slaughtered Sonya Massey had a history of problematic behavior in different parts of law enforcement. Okay. Let me pull up this article here by AP News. It says here, with DUI related ejection from Army, deputy who killed Massey should have raised flags, experts say. I'm in agreement with that. And so I guess I should pause for context for those who don't know. A young lady called 911. And when she called 911 and they arrived, uh, lots of things transpired, and she was murdered by a gentleman in Illinois. He's a sheriff, and it's really sad. But I want to highlight that these things have been going on for a while with him specifically. And then we'll move on to another piece of this puzzle. It says here he was kicked out of the Army for the first of two drunken driving convictions in which he had a weapon in his car, authorities said, but that didn't stop multiple law enforcement agencies from giving him a badge. Before his policing career began with 6 jobs in 4 years, the first 3 of which were part-time, 30-year-old Sean Grayson was convicted twice within a year of driving under the influence, which cost him his hitch in the military. The convictions, plus his previous employment record, should have raised serious questions when the Sangamon County Sheriff's Department hired him in May of 2023, law enforcement experts say. Once again, I'm in agreement. Grayson, who has since been fired, is charged with first-degree murder, aggravated battery with a firearm, and official misconduct in the death of Massey, a 36-year-old black woman who had called 911 about a suspected prowler at her home in Springfield, 200 miles southwest of Chicago. Grayson, who is white, has pleaded not guilty. I'm going to stop there, but I just want to say that I think this is further evidence of how tricky things can be when it comes to law enforcement. Just speaking about him being hired first. As you can see, his history was littered, his employment history was littered with problems and bad behavior, right? Convictions specifically should point you towards red flags. That should tell you, hey, boop, something's up here. But not only was this man still hired by several companies, several law enforcement agencies, whether part-time or full-time is irrelevant at the moment, he was hired. And not only was he hired, but this man he was entrusted with a firearm. He was entrusted with protecting the people. And he was entrusted with doing a job. Things that he did not do well. I'm gonna say I don't give my opinion very much up here on matters. Again, I'm trying to choose my words carefully, so forgive my hesitance. I'm just trying to make sure I don't blurt out an emotional response. But the reality is, this man did not do the job, and yes, he is being charged. He was already fired, and he's being charged with first-degree murder. I'm glad that is happening, because he needs to stand trial for what he did. The audio is grotesque. The audio shows you a lot of things that are happening, and the video is even worse. And so this man said things to this woman that should never be said. And then he went on to slaughter this woman. And so this is not new. We have seen this before. We see Black Americans being slaughtered by law enforcement time and time again. And of course, this is sad. Of course, this should not happen. And I would like to say once again, RIP to Sonya Massey. I think it's really challenging for Black people to trust law enforcement. And even when you're saying that, even when you're saying, I'm scared, I don't know what you're going to do to me, still you can end up being slaughtered. And so I think that, as silly as I was being with the last group of topics, we got to buckle down and have a serious conversation about what to do in these circumstances. Because if you're calling because you think, hey, somebody's in my apartment, there's something wrong going on, it seemed like somebody is outside prowling, and you end up being slaughtered, it begs the question, what do you do in those circumstances? Do you bother calling the police at all? Do you call and put a camera on? I don't know the answer. I'm open to hearing other answers. But I think it's sad that we continue to see this loss of life. I think it's sad that someone with such a questionable past can be hired by multiple agencies of law enforcement. Um, and sadly, I don't believe that this man will be convicted. I truly hope I'm wrong, because he should be punished for his crimes. He should be held accountable for his crimes. But unfortunately, we know that's not usually what happens in this country when law enforcement slaughters one of our own. Melanated people, when they are slaughtered by law enforcement, it is not the norm that those law enforcement officers, people, whatever you want to call them, um, it's not the norm that they are held accountable. And so I hope that this changes. I hope that he is convicted and held accountable, because this is a monster who needs to be off the street. And so once again, I want to say RIP to Sonya Massey. And I would love to hear what you guys think is a good solution to this ongoing problem, this epidemic, because it continues to happen, whether we take a knee in a football game, whether we voice our opinions at protests. What do you believe is necessary for these things to change? What can law enforcement do to regain the trust of the community? Those are my questions. All right, let's jump around a bit, try to reset the serious mood. Let's hit some quickies. This is from Routers. Routers, the headline reads, Meta to pay $1.4 billion, of course, to settle Texas facial recognition data lawsuit. This actually came out today, July 30th, when I'm recording this. It says Meta Platforms has agreed to pay $1.4 billion to Texas to resolve the state's lawsuit accusing the Facebook parent of illegally using facial recognition technology to collect biometric data of millions of Texans without their consent. That's it. I ain't got nothing else to say there. Let's move on. Let's keep it on tech for just a second. This is according to AP News here. This one reads, the Justice Department says TikTok collected U.S. users' views on issues like abortion and gun control. In a fresh broadside against one of the world's most popular technology companies, the Justice Department is accusing TikTok of harnessing the capability to gather bulk information on users based on views on divisive social issues like gun control, abortion, and religion. That's AP News. Y'all could go look that up if you want. Let's go over here to the New York Post. It says here, quote unquote, wolf of Airbnb, Conrad Biker, sentenced to prison for illegal NYC sublet scheme. Ooh. A flashy Florida man who claimed to be the wolf of Airbnb was sentenced Monday to more than 4 years in prison after pleading guilty to illegally subletting more than 18 Manhattan apartments and raking in more than $1 million in rental income while refusing to pay rent. Wow, that's pretty gangster. This one is according to Newsweek. Newsweek says Tyson Foods suspends CFO after second arrest. The US based international meat processing company Tyson Foods announced it will suspend its chief financial officer after he was arrested on multiple charges, including driving while intoxicated. One more little piece. John R. Tyson, 34, was arrested by University of Arkansas police on charges of driving while intoxicated, careless driving, and improper turn/U-turn, according to Washington County Sheriff's records. He was later released on a $1,105 bond. And y'all peeped, his name is Tyson, right? It says here he is the great-grandson of the founder of the company. He's been the CFO since 2022. Those are the quickies right there, okay? Do I have another quickie for you? No, but let's jump back to politics before we head into another topic. So there's a lot of buzz surrounding something called Project 2025. It is something that is all over the place. And recently the director stepped down. And this article is according to The Hill. It says Project 2025 director steps down amid Trump campaign criticism. The director of the Heritage Foundation led project. Oh, the Heritage Foundation is leading the project. The director of the Heritage Foundation led Project 2025, Paul Dans, is departing from the role, the conservative think tank's president, Kevin Roberts, said Tuesday, quote, when we began Project 2025 in April of 2022, we set a timeline for the project to conclude its policy drafting after the two-party conventions this year, and we are sticking to that timeline, Roberts said in a statement. Quote, Paul, who built the project from scratch and bravely led this endeavor over the past 2 years, will be departing the team and moving up to the front where the fight remains, Roberts said. We are extremely grateful for his and everyone's work on Project 2025 and dedication to saving America. Our collective efforts to build a personnel apparatus for policymakers of all levels, federal, state, and local, will continue. All right, and that's probably the most important part of that paragraph, of that quote, rather. So I want to say something that I want to make clear here. Director stepping down, leader stepping down does not mean the project stops. It does not mean Project 2025 is going anywhere. I implore people to look into what Project 2025 aims to do, along with, what is it, Agenda 47, I want to say it's called. Hold on, let me look this up and make sure I got it right, because going off the memory you can make mistakes. Agenda, yes, Agenda 47. Project 2025 is important, and that seems to be getting a lot of attention, but so is Agenda 47. And so I'm not going to say what these things are because I am not the expert in these things. But I implore you to look into these things. It is always a good idea to know what it is someone's. It's always a good idea to read up when you can, because it's not always this public, what it is that a person, a party, a presidential, a presidential candidate is looking to do when they get in office. A lot of times these things are not broadcasted on this level. This time it is. And so I implore you to go out there, look into it, read up on it, and just see what it is that they're talking about doing, what they're trying to do, what they would like to do. These things are important. So yes, the man is stepping down, but the goal, the the tasks that they are trying to achieve will continue. They are staying on that path. They are not going anywhere. And so It is important for you to know that as a citizen of this country who these things will be affecting if Donald Trump becomes president. Not to say that Kamala Harris does not have agendas, but they're not necessarily being broadcasted on websites, on podcasts, etc. You can find a lot of information out very easily about Project 2025. Mm, lots of people are speaking about it who are better versed than I am, including some of the people who are part of the organization leading Project 2025. There is also detailed descriptions of Agenda 47 online as well. So I implore you to check those things out and realize that homeboy stepping down doesn't change the fact that this is the goal. Okay? All right. Let's go to terms of the week. Terms of the week. Our first term of the week, the mouse shuffle. What? This is according to Forbes.com. It says the mouse shuffle, quote unquote, a 2024 workplace trend has employers scratching their heads. Since the pandemic, employers have been engaging in certain types of quiet maneuvering like quiet cutting and employee surveillance to assuage the needs of business. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Assuage. Assuage. That's what Google says. That's how you pronounce it. Anyway, the needs of business and stabilize their workforce. A recent study reveals that 79% of employees said they're under pressure to perform to quote unquote show they're working. Many workers are retaliating with quiet workaround tactics of their own, such as quiet quitting, coffee badging, quiet vacationing, and shadow policies. I didn't even know some of those. We might have to circle back on some of those. Anyway, it says here, you've probably heard the popular phrase, dance like nobody's watching. Now comes the trend called the mouse shuffle that encourages employees to work like their employers are watching. This troubling trend has emerged in the world of remote work in which employees feign productivity by constantly moving their mouse or appearing online, causing ripples of concern across workplace cultures, according to David Campbell, organizational consultant at Brand Rebellion. A recent Forbes Advisor survey finds that 43% of employees say their online activity is being monitored in 2024, and 25% of those admit pretending to be online while engaging in non-work activities. What? On the flip side, workers are 12% more likely to be happy with their job when they have freedom and autonomy in their work environment. According to Campbell, the mouse shuffle is a trend where employees in remote or flexible work settings feel the need to appear continuously busy and online to seem productive. This behavior stems from difficulties in adapting traditional productivity measures of being seen at a computer to remote work scenarios, leading employees to overemphasize their presence at their computers even when it's the whole thing fell. I might even leave that in. That was crazy. All right. Sorry about that. I tried to put my phone away and my whole device just tumbled over. The great tumble of 2024. I felt like that was too good to edit out. I'm gonna leave that one just for your viewing and laughing pleasure. It was saying here, I don't know if it went through during the tumble, so I'll just read that last sentence again. This behavior stems from difficulties in adapting traditional productivity measures of being seen at a computer to remote work scenarios, leading employees to overemphasize their presence at their computers, even when it's not essential. No flipping of the devices this time. Oh, man. All right. So that's our term of the week, but I think I got a second one for y'all. Hold on. Oh, I sure do. The other term of the week is chatters. What are chatters? Well, for that, we go to Routers Investigations. And so Routers did this whole investigation on OnlyFans because they believe that legal action could be taken against OnlyFans because a lot of OnlyFans money is coming from people who are not part of OnlyFans. And so I'll read this to you just a little bit. It's a long article. They had a whole investigation, but I'll get to you. I'll get you out the meaning and some info here. So the article is by Routers. They start by discussing a person who believes they were duped. It speaks about their experience with what is called a chatter. And then it speaks about some of the problems. So let's just skip to that part. We're going to skip the person's experience. It says here, OnlyFans is a porn-driven subscription-based website where content creators and their followers can develop what it calls, quote, authentic relationships by messaging each other. But many popular OnlyFans creators, including actual porn stars, I'm sorry, it does not say the word actual, including porn stars, earning millions of dollars through the website, outsource the task of messaging their subscribers to be paid impersonators known as chatters. So chatters are people being paid to chat with quote unquote fans on OnlyFans. So you think you're messaging JD, but instead you have no idea who you're messaging, as you're messaging someone that JD pays to speak to you and bring in profits. We'll keep on talking about it. By the way, I do not have chatters. Anytime you get a message from me, it is me, OnlyFans or not. Now, back to what it says here. It says it is their job to coax subscribers into tipping the creators and buying more porn. The presence of chatters on OnlyFans has been documented before, often as a quirky, if dubious byproduct of the platform's runaway success. But a Router's investigation found that they play an essential supporting role in OnlyFans' business, sustaining a fundamental deception that both hooks and harms loyal customers and bring legal risks to the platform. OnlyFans doesn't employ chatters or even acknowledge their existence. Still, they form part of a largely unregulated global ecosystem that has evolved alongside the company's explosive growth. They are hired by agencies that manage many top OnlyFans content creators, sometimes referred to as models. All three, agencies, creators, and chatters, share the same goal to persuade subscribers to spend as much money as possible on the models' accounts. Your term of the week, ladies and gentlemen: chatters. Have you been coaxed by chatters? I like the word coaxed. Sorry. You've been swindled by chatters. Do you agree OnlyFans could be seeing legal action? Not sure what y'all think about that, but I thought it was worth bringing up. Oh, we didn't do anything dating related or sex related, and I have something for y'all. I almost forgot. Where's this article? Here we go. This is from E! News. I know y'all probably thought I was not coming on here with E! News for y'all, but I am. Since the Olympics are going on, they are on and popping, let's go to some shenanigans at the Olympics. The headline reads, How the Olympic Village Became Known for Its Sexy Escapades. Thanks to the village's racy history and a lot of condoms, we're betting the games at the 2024 Paris Olympics won't just be on the field. It says here, it's a lot of ads. It says here, elite athletes train their entire lives with the hopes of just sniffing an Olympics. We're talking 3-a-days, hours of physical therapy, film sessions, and additional weightlifting and cross-training, microbiotic diets without sugar, alcohol, dairy, or fun, to be honest. Early mornings. All right, come on, man. Let's get to it. All right. Here we go. And yet, with one July 2012 ESPN expose in which American target shooter Josh Lakatos joked about running a friggin' brothel in the Olympic Village, at the 2000 Olympics, the entire experience was reduced to a 2-week long, I cannot pronounce that word. I will put it on the screen for y'all. Bacchanalia, I think is how you pronounce it, for those with muscles and endurance to spare, where the real games began long after the starting pistols are fired. Or, as the silver medalist put it, describing the time he watched the entire 4 times 100 women's relay team of one Scandinavian country walk out of the 3-story home he shared with his teammates, aptly dubbed Shooter's House, followed by athletes from the U.S. team. Quote, I've never witnessed so much debauchery in my entire life. Pair that bombshell report with news Durex would be supplying the village in London that year with some 150,000 condoms, and the fact that hookup app Grindr crashed shortly after athletes began arriving in England. And let's just say people were titillated. Jokes about athletes' stamina and ability to perform like low-hanging fruit ripe for the picking. By the time the 2016 Summer Games rolled around in Rio de Janeiro, admittedly one of the sexiest cities on earth, the allotment had tripled. The International Olympics Committee providing 350,000 condoms, an additional 100,000 female condoms, and 175,000 packets of lubricant for the 10,500 athletes, as in 42 condoms per athlete, averaging out to 2.5 a day. So, were things really that hot in the southern hemisphere? Quote, it's an absolute, it's an absolutely huge allocation of condoms. Olympic rowing gold and silver medalist Zach Purchase, then retired after appearances in London and Beijing, acknowledged in a 2016 interview with The Guardian, quote, but it is also so far from the truth of what it's like to be in there. It's not some sexualized cauldron of activity. We're talking about athletes who are focused on producing the best performance of their lives. And afterwards, perhaps an even greater performance. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. There is a lot of celebration, Purchase admitted to the British outlet, but it's very controlled. The official condom count dates back to the 1988 Summer Games in Seoul, when some of the 8,500 prophylactics distributed to raise awareness and stop the spread of HIV epidemic reportedly made their way up to the roofs of Olympic residences, leading the Olympic Association to ban outdoor sex. Hey, yo. By 2000, organizers in Sydney were having to scramble to procure an additional 20,000 condoms after their initial haul of 70,000 were used up. Damn! With at least an Oakley duffel bag's worth of stationed with at least an Oakley duffel bag's worth stationed at quote unquote Shooter's House. In short, as women's soccer goalkeeper Hope Solo, a 2-time gold medalist and veteran of the 2008, 2012, and 2016 games, put it to ESPN, there's a lot of sex going on. 12-time medalist Ryan Lochte, who narrowly missed qualifying for what would have been his 5th Olympic trip to Tokyo in 2021, estimated bedroom activities to be taking place between 70% to 75% of Olympians. Now, a married father of 3 at the time, he was eagerly looking ahead to London, having regretfully turned up to Beijing in 2008 as an attached man. Listen, there's a lot more here. I ain't going to read it. It's a long article, but I just wanted to let y'all know they are fucking at the Olympics. There is a lot of sex and sexual activity going on at the Olympics. Did y'all know that? Did y'all expect those type of crazy condom and lubricant numbers to be happening? I, for one, am all for the Olympics distributing these things, for companies to be sponsoring these things. We don't need specs for this last piece. To be sponsoring these things I think that is great that they are encouraging people to be safe, to be smart, to be lubricated. Got to be lubricated, baby. You know what I mean? Dry ain't fly. And I think that's a good thing. I think if you're going to get it in, you're going to try to give your best performance and then a better performance, then yeah, I mean, we don't need all type of diseases traveling back home to wherever your home is. And so I think this is a good thing that the Olympics are giving out these things and record-breaking numbers. Good job, Olympics committee. And all you gold medalists, you know, listen, they say the more fit you are, the more fertile you are. So I'm gonna leave y'all with that food for thought. And just a little fun for us here at the end. I didn't know they was getting busy like that at the Olympics. I've heard little things here and there, but I clearly with this body am not at the Olympics. You feel what I'm saying? I'm not Olympic worthy in those games. There might be some other games though. Anyway, let me leave that there. Yeah, man, that's our pod. Thank you for being here. I hope you found some value and some entertainment. And hopefully I'll see y'all again real soon. Adios.